This week on Shotgun Sports USA, we're bringing you a special video podcast in collaboration with the Clay Lab. In case you haven't heard about it, the Clay Lab is an all-new YouTube channel focusing on clay shooting gear, clubs, and coaches. Join us today on the Clay Lab's YouTube channel where we sit down with Team Beretta during the 2022 US Open. You're not going to want to miss this unique experience because we're not going to only tell you about Beretta's new A400, but we're going to show you the gun and its new features. We're also going to let you see it in action at the US Open in the hands of shooters who know it best. Find the link in the description below, or you can find the video by searching the Clay Lab on YouTube. Shotgun Sports USA is powered by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Also brought to you by Cole Gunsmithing, Ultimate Shooting Accessories, Rick Hemingway's Promatic Trap Sales, Sound Gear and Sound Gear Phantom, Comp and Choke, Clay Shooter Supply, and Clay Target Vision.
All right, so we're doing another episode of Shotgun Sports USA here at Backwoods Quail Club in Georgetown, South Carolina. I've got a group of people here with me. We're going to talk about the Beretta A400, the new one. And all of the people here shooting, we have, let me introduce everybody, Travis Haglin with Beretta USA, Desi Edmunds, which is a Beretta sponsored shooter, Mr. Rich Cole with Cole Gunsmithing, which Rich is part of Cole Gunsmithing and is the largest premium Beretta dealer in the world. So glad to have him here with us. On my right, we have Diane Sorantino, a longtime Beretta sponsored shooter, and Mr. Joe Fanizzi over here, which is a Beretta shooter also, and one of the best with a semi-auto right now, and coming up through the ranks. So congratulations on everything you've accomplished and everything everybody's accomplished. But I want to talk about these guns we have laying here, which is the Beretta A400 XCEL. Okay, they've redesigned them. And Rich, I kind of want to get into this with you on how they have changed. But first, I want to ask Travis about the guns. How does Beretta feel about the guns that they've redesigned? How are the consumer market adapting to the new guns? Are they wanting them? Yep. How are you producing them? Tell me a little about this gun and Beretta USA and how they've all come together to produce this.
Definitely. First, Justin, thank you for having me. Yeah. It's exciting to be on here, and Backwoods are putting on a great show here at the US Open. Beretta USA, Beretta in general, you really think about it, the A400 has been out, we've been discussing here almost a little over a decade, 10, 12 years. Right. And it became a staple in the Autoloader market, and it really was that go-to, and it became, well, I'm a little biased. I would say it's the best semi-automatic Autoloader gas operated gun out there for competition clays. But that's my point. But the market also has said that, right? And it's really difficult to make some improvements. But Beretta takes that from the consideration of what the shooters need. How does it make small little updates to improve different ergonomics, bolt releases, and chambers to be able to ensure performance and drive performance on the field, right? So Beretta is very fanatical about that, and the product development team is extremely laser focused on analyzing all the different aspects of that performance and trying to deliver that. So from our perspective, Beretta USA, we're very excited about it. We've had really strong market adoption. We will continue to see that by the performance of the shooters and also the listeners out there shooting this at the US Open and all the different competitions that they take their loaders to.
Right. Rich, I was talking to you earlier today, and I started bringing up the 303s, and you said, well, it went even further back than that with the AL2 and the 301s and 302s. So, I mean,
it really goes way back. Beretta's, I was back in the 1970s, the AL1, it was fairly short-lived. They made some improvements, came up with the AL2, and the Beretta had that basic pattern of piston and action bar assembly, breech bolt locking system, right up through the AL2, A301, 302, 303, 390, 391. All of those guns share very, very, very similar in engineering. And Beretta's a company that due to their size and the scale of their manufacture, they have the ability to do very, very sophisticated engineering and quality control analysis type of processes. You know, so they just kind of go on and they make these sort of rolling engineering changes and change the product and continue to improve it. And yeah, you know, the A400 is a complete 100% departure, you know, from that system that Beretta used for, you know, for so many years. And you know, because it's, you know, you look at that AL1 right up through the A391 and you lay them on the table and you say it's very, very obvious what the evolution was. And then you put them next to the A400 and start to look closely and you realize the only thing that these things share and similar is their gas operated guns.
Yeah. You were talking also about how they are easier to clean now. A lot of people hated cleaning automatic, but now there's not an issue with it.
Yeah.
Now,
We always
Joe's a master at it.
Yeah, well, Joe knows, okay, that you know, the function of his shotgun, you know, and his success, they have a relationship there. All of your top shooters, you know, all your serious shooters, you know, they know that this is the tool.
Right.
You know, this is the tool. You know, whatever kind of gun it is. I mean, if you don't take care of it, you know, it's not going to serve you well.
So, Joe, we're talking about cleaning guns. How often do you clean yours?
You know, it really depends. I think you could go thousands and thousands of rounds with these guns and not have to clean them, really. I mean, I think they're that tough, they're that durable, they're that reliable, and that's part of the reason I love shooting the automatic. I think the more you do clean it, just psychologically, it helps me. And I know Mr. Rich has talked about this quite a bit in the past, and he'll even, you know, probably be able to elaborate on it now. A lot of the issues that people are presented with when it comes to, you know, a failure with their gun, their tool is, you know, it's their fault in a way because they haven't done as good of a job of, you know, kind of keeping good care of their gun or kind of cleaning their gun, knowing when to replace parts, springs, pins. You know, they're just doing a poor job of, you know, kind of manicuring their tool. And, you know, the more I take care of my gun, the more confident it allows me to be, you know, in competition. And, you know, the gun runs better. And also when you're cleaning a gun that was cleaned 2 or 3 days prior versus cleaning a gun that was cleaned 2 or 3 months prior, the process is a lot easier.
Right.
So I'd rather be able to clean my gun a lot and it be pretty easy and effortless than, you know, clean it every couple times, but it takes me 3 or 4 hours just because it's, you know, been such a buildup of a long time. So, I mean, I clean it before every event, you know, sometimes a couple of times at the actual event and, you know, wipe it down when I practice. But, you know, you have to take care of your tool, and the more you take care of it, the better results it'll present you with.
It's interesting, like, from my perspective, like, people and their relationship with their tool, with anything, there's a care that goes into the cleaning aspect of it. And you can actually see how, when you take care of the product, it'll take care of you. I mean, if you really spend that time with it, it will do you justice out there when that matters most. When you need to break that last clay, if you've taken that little target and then you clean that, you know, fine-tuned it, it'll help you. Just both, like you said, Joe, both psychologically and also the mechanical operation of the gun will continue to run smooth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rich, what's changed? Why is it easier now to clean?
Oh boy, that's funny. You know, so the old style guns, you know, we have so many people out there. I love my 303s, 390s, 391s. I love them. Oh, I hate the cleanup. You know, it's kind of like you in those old guns when you took the fore end cap off, slide the fore end off, take the barrel out, pull the charging handle, and you pull that breech bolt falls off that action bar slide, and the bolt slide drops off, and the pin comes out, and the connecting rod drops out, and it's like a Rubik's Cube. Now you got to try and put it back together.
Yeah, next thing
you
you know,
got-
there's 10 pieces
all
on
these
the
pieces
table.
are
and
laying
you're
there in
like,
front
where
of
did
you.
these go?
Okay, how do they go back together again? And then you got to have 6 fingers on each hand to hold everything all in place. That hopefully you get it lined up, tunk it a little bit, and it all goes back together again. You wipe your brow off and say, "Oh, thank God," you know. I mean, it got that thing back together again. You know, I don't know whether I want to shoot tomorrow or not because I don't want to have to clean it again. You know, yeah. These guns right here, you know, it's a different system. So what you have basically is that the bolt carrier, okay, and the action bar are all one piece.
Mhm.
You know, so when you take your fore end cap off, take the fore end off and the barrel off, you pull the charging handle out. When you slide that action bar out, the action spring and the covering sleeve and the bolt and everything, that all comes out as one piece. You know, and then basically all you have to do, if you really wanted to give it a great cleaning, is you push a little pin out that allows the firing pin and spring to come out, and then the bolt cam comes out, and it's right there, and it only reassembles one way. It really is very, very easy. And you know, I'd like to go back on what Joe was talking about in the cleaning of it. We were talking, when you clean your gun, you have an opportunity to examine the parts and look at the parts. And if you see something is wearing, or it's cracked, or it's chipped, you know, it's like, light bulb can go off. Maybe I need to ask somebody about this. You know, maybe there's going to be a problem. You know, you can catch that thing before it's actually broken. You know, in the middle of your shoot. You know.
Yeah.
The guns are tough enough to run on a cracked part, or you know, a weared out spring, and they really will. I mean, they'll keep going and going, but you know, I think it's better to replace it, you know, early before you have it,
Preventative maintenance.
rather than I'm just going to shoot it till it breaks. Well, what if you're, you know, we're at the U.S. Open now. This is one of the largest shoots we'll shoot all year. You know, what if we're halfway through a round and then it happens? You know, you just want to avoid the circumstance.
Over the years, I'll replace those springs once a year, whether I think they need it or not. I would just replace them, just as good general maintenance to the gun. And I just, you know, from there, you know you won't have any problems. Or like Joe says, you have that confidence right here that the gun's going to work for you.
So over the years, you shot them forever as well.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah. How?
26 years on the auto.
So which one did you start with?
The 390.
390.
Mm-hmm.
So how have you seen them progress and made it easier for the shooter as far as the build of the shotgun?
Wow. Well, obviously the 390.
Do you still have all these guns?
I do.
Nice.
I do.
It's a collection.
Even
You've won enough tournaments with all those guns. You darn sure should keep them.
I've won every major with them, with the auto. But anyway, the back when it was even the thing to have the wood painted.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, well, we had the red, white, and blue USA and everything.
Yeah.
All kind of neat. But yeah, so over the years, you know, the 390 to the 391, and then the Technis model, which was really pretty receiver silver with the blue on there. I didn't think at that point when I heard the A400 was going to evolve, I was like, oh, why? Because this gun is just perfect. I don't think they can make a better gun. And the gun, don't get me wrong, the gun is better. They have made improvements overall to it, but they've all been really good guns and dependable over the years. And this gun here, and I said it before, I didn't think it could be better, but it is, just a little bit. There's different things on this gun that are a bit different. I mean, for me, one of the biggest changes is the loading port, where you go and put your second round in there. It was just, we were just talking about it. I was showing these guys, and I said, over the years, I said, I've developed this little lump on my thumb from loading the second shell. It's just weird, but now plenty of room to go ahead and get that second shell in there, and it's comfortable. The gun has just been, you know, I've been shooting the A400 now for 10, 12 years. It's just flawless. And then the little changes they've made to this one, you know, the extended bolt handle, they've already got the quick closer on it, you know, the wide loading port. And if it can be, the gun, I believe, is faster as far as the cycling of the gun. Would you agree, Rick? It's just faster.
Blink
And-
system.
The blink technology.
Yeah.
But one thing, and I had to kind of survey a few people just to make sure it wasn't me. I believe that this gun, the new A400, is just slightly less in felt recoil than the, let's call it the blue A400. So, and talking, and I you know, I mentioned it to Des, and she agrees with me. I think Zach has shot it fairly a fair amount. He agrees with me, and a couple other people. So, wow, just when you think you have a real soft shooting gun, they make it even better.
Yeah. You know, I was kidding with Joe earlier.
Yeah.
What do you call it? The loading port? That's what Diane called
Right.
it. Whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it. I said, Joe, when you flip your gun over now, can you see more of the shell to make sure that it's in there the right way? You know,
It's a sneak peek. I call it the sneak peek.
Yeah.
That's right. You gotta make sure it's in there.
Yeah, it's,
Absolutely.
you know, I've duck hunted with these guns, the Beretta automatics, and that larger opening would be awesome, you know, to have had years back, trying to load them with gloves or trying to, you know, so. But Rich, Cole Gunsmithing is known for custom gun work, and you can take one of these guns and make it something completely custom. What all can you do to an A400 to make it custom? And didn't you have weren't you enlarging those?
The port, yeah,
The
the loading ports.
the
yeah.
loading
yeah,
ports
that was one
before
of
they
that was
actually
one of
came
the
out?
things that we did with the blue guns is we'd set them up on a CNC machine and we would ball and mill that to drop that down to make that a little bit easier. And of course now Beretta has done that for you.
Yeah.
You know, so that's not.
We're kind of mimicking the tactical versions.
Right,
The tactical
right,
versions
yeah,
have
yeah. Make it easier. Maybe make it easier.
1301.
Yeah.
Jam those shells up in there, you know, and I think that one of the things we've always done on the Beretta semi-autos is a really good trigger job, because in all fairness, this gun, it's a production gun, it needs to be a production gun to meet the price point, that it is. But it is a good quality production point, and again, it's sort of going back to Beretta, the size of the company, the sophistication of their engineering department, and their ability to analyze different steels and materials and the different properties and the way they can be heat treated. You end up with extremely correct parts in the gun. And even if you took it apart and you look at the trigger cylinder, for example, you say, it looks like there's some stamped parts and everything in here. Yeah, but they very seldom does anything ever break because of the engineering. They don't need to take solid forgings and machine the forgings and make very, very expensive parts to drive the cost up in order to make a tremendous reliability in terms of the gun. And so what happens is that when we do a trigger job and we do a little bit of action work, on that, we don't need to put a bunch of expensive parts in it. It's basically going in and tuning the existing parts that are already there to turn the trigger pull into, from a standard off the shelf substantial amount of creep, 5-pound trigger pull to get it down to almost like a rifle at 3 1/4, 3.5 pounds, and that, for somebody that's really trying to grow in their shooting, having a really good trigger pull, that's a tremendous piece of it, because you're not pulling the gun, you're not guessing when the gun is going to go off. And then on top of that, again, a lot of it ends up being cosmetic. You make it pretty. There's all kinds of different things you can do with the wood, different kinds of stocks, and we do those different colored laminate stocks and the TSK, adjustable variations. And of course, with Cerakote today, it's like your art image is the sky's the limit, because there's some really cool stuff that can be done on that. And actually, as you saw, our sort of our prototype we have now have a fully engraved, in a traditional type of a vine scroll. And so we're doing a lot more with the gun. And people say, well, why? Who wants that expensive a semi-auto? And it's like, well, the reality is that this semi-auto is a good enough quality gun, that there are people that want something that's nice enough that they are willing to spend $4,000 or $5,000, for a gun. And you can actually do that with this and say, yep, it really does make sense. You can justify the cost of that, of putting really nice wood and engraving and finishing on it. So
Yeah, looks really nice. Desi, you shot an over-under for years and won a lot of titles with an over-under. But you've moved to the A400.
Yep.
Why is that?
Well, I used to shoot the old blue gun, and then I was shooting the DT for a while, and that's the beauty of Beretta, is they make a wide variety of guns. And just like kind of guns evolve and the game evolves, I think each person's shooting evolves a little bit as they go, depending on where you're at. And I loved my DT11. It's a fantastic gun. I have no problems with that gun. And I was very successful with it for a long time.
Yeah.
But somewhere, in my shooting, as it started changing, I started developing, certain issues that I needed to fix to remain at the top, to compete. And one of those was recoil. That was becoming a really big issue for me. And my DT11 really doesn't kick that bad. I shoot pretty light shell out of it, and Rich did a bunch of work on it for me. And again, I love that gun, but that's the beauty. One of the big things about semi-automatic is it has no recoil. There's just so little felt recoil when you're pulling the trigger on that shotgun. It allows me to keep my eye on the bird better. It allows me to stay in the gun better. I don't get as tired as often. I have more, endurance throughout the round. If I so choose, I can shoot a hotter load. I choose to shoot light shells anyways. I have confidence in those.
Right.
I can manipulate the gun a little bit easier. The dynamics of it, Rich always uses that word, which I really like. The dynamics of the semi-auto, just feels really good right out of the box, even without a custom shop, even without all the extra work. It just feels good between your hands. The pointability, we kind of use that word a lot. You can point this gun, whether you're hunting or you're shooting clays. You pick it up and it just points well. And I was at a point in my shooting where that's kind of what I needed. I needed to change, and again, Beretta has all of those options. So I went with it, and we've got the new A400, and I love it even more than I like the blue gun. I really do. Like Diane said, I think it kicks less, felt recoil. The obviously enlarged loading port is very easy. They came with the extra button on it, which I like. I liked just, again, as a play target shooter, you really pick up on the details of everything. The shape of the forend, the shape of the receiver. How big is the button? How big is the charging handle? What weight is on the front of the gun? And I think everything that they changed from the blue gun to the new A400 XCEL is perfect. I like it all. I like the matte finish. Yeah, and it's doing well.
Sounds like you're gonna stay.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah. It's also it's interesting. I mean, the sport. Just sitting here listening to you guys talk a little bit. Like I'm really new to the clay sport, or at least this particular side of it. And your point you made about the attention to detail. It's actually something. Like you guys talked about the trigger. You talked about the cleanliness, and you just right here, and also see the stock down there. You're kind of still tweaking that stock to get it fit right for you.
Yeah, Rich is probably pulling his hair out. So I'm like, a little here, a little bit there.
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
here,
okay,
Rich,
just-
a little here, Rich.
It's always something in the rig.
No, so not to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
what I want to say is that for the people that are watching this, it's like these shooters right here. These are the first tier NASCAR drivers.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
sporting clays, okay? And they are electing to shoot a relatively inexpensive semi-auto shotgun.
Mhm.
Okay? Their sponsor, Beretta, okay, will put them in any gun they want.
Mhm.
Okay? I mean, and so the whole point is that each one of these people that have performed at a very, very high level, have sort of the credibility to go back to Beretta and say, in order for me to perform at the epitome of my skill set, I want an SL3, I want an SO5, I want a gun that is $27,000, and I want you to stock it for me, at Beretta Due over there, and they're going to step up and do that. Yet these folks are sitting around here saying that their level of attention to detail about the finesse points that causes the gun to be able to perform for them is met with a gun that is $1,600 or $1,700. So I mean, truly, what more does a person need to know in terms of what will this gun do? I mean, the gun is going to outshoot anybody in the room. I mean, that's the reality. The gun is going to do the job. The gun is going to do the job.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't perform properly, then it's not going to do that. So that's
That preventative maintenance, kind of making that full circle. Yeah.
That kind of comes into another topic. I've got a 9-year-old that shoots an A400. He can load the gun, mount the gun, shoot the gun himself, and shoot 100 rounds, and he's fine. So that leads to this question. I know Diane, Desi coach. Is that what someone should start out with when they start shooting?
Yes. Hands down.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Hands down.
It is a great gun for the experienced shooters like Joe and Diane, and it's a great gun for the novice shooter. Again, for all of the reasons that we like it, plus some. Low recoil, cost effective, function, pointability, all of these benefits, not do they just benefit us as, professional shooters, but the person who's learning, the person who's starting, the young kid.
Yeah, even
Absolutely. No question.
even if you have to step down to the 20 gauge A400, it's just a phenomenal gun. Did you get somebody into it to learn the proper mechanics? They're not getting beat up by something, that's a little bit heavier, or just something that's going to be a lot easier for them to see around one barrel.
Yeah.
To get the concept of what they need to do, because it's you need to build those mechanics.
Right.
And I really truly believe, and I think Desi agrees with me wholeheartedly, it's easier to do with this gun.
Yeah, and not just kids. I'm not talking about
No.
just little tiny kids
No.
or women.
Right.
Any big end.
Anybody who first picks up sporting clays or clay target shooting. It's a fantastic gun to start with. Even the other models. Beretta has a wide variety of semi-automatic models, and they're all perfect.
And I also I really feel like I'm seeing the pendulum swing just a
Yeah.
bit.
Without a doubt.
I
Without a
agree.
doubt.
Some of the people are transitioning back
Absolutely.
into.
One thing I'll say real quick is, you guys were talking about what a remarkable starting gun it is. I mean, it is really great. I mean, it's a good gun to learn on. It's a good gun to start with and be introduced with. But I feel like there's this notion that if you want to, compete at the highest of the high level, that you can't do it with an automatic. And I don't know why people feel like that. And I feel like that's just something that is kind of stereotypically spread across the sport. I think it's false personally. But not only is it a great starter gun, but you can certainly.
I don't know something. Something here recently.
What I'm saying is, you can. I mean, one of the most frequent questions I get asked, and I get asked quite a few questions all the time, shooting related, and it's when are you going to move up to an overnight? When are you? Is it going to be 2 years, 3 years? When are you finally going to make that switch? And everybody thinks like this is just a gateway gun to open up more doors in the future for your career, but it's certainly not. I mean, I am very confident saying this, but I shot a 391 in the couple of years before I shot the A400, and I absolutely loved it. Like you said, they were phenomenal guns also. But I like this gun. I like how simple it is. Everything you guys said. It's lighter. The recoil is great. It's very forgiving. You can manipulate it. It can point well. I mean, it has everything that I'm looking for. And for me, at the end of the day, the gun is a tool. We're out here. The whole point of investing time into all this, or someone watching this video, or us choosing a gun, is to be better at what we do, which is clay target shooting. And the goal at the end of the day is to be able to do everything you can and to set up giving yourself the best chance to break as many targets on the course as possible. And that's the end goal. And for me, and for all the rest of us, the A400 offers that. And, a lot of people do, get the stereotype of, it's more of, a gun catered towards ladies or younger kids or things like that. The automatic is just too light, it's too whippy. And get it weighted. I mean, it's an opportunity. I mean, Desi's gun has some weights in it. You can put weight in the front, you can put weight in the back. I mean, there's all kind of people around the world that, could shoot this gun. And it's in their head for some reason that they are not able to perform with it at a certain level. But I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think people should be hesitant to switch to it. And like Miss Diane said, I think a lot of people have realized that here recently, and a lot of people are using the gun. Yeah. And especially with, gunsmiths out there like Mr. Rich, who's the best in the business. I mean, they can do, whatever's necessary to set it up to your liking. And, it's not just a cookie cutter gun. I mean, if you get a Colt Pro, like what a lot of us shoot, or, even, out of the box from Beretta, the gun is a phenomenal gun. It's a great gun. You can compete with it for a long time. I shot a factory gun from Beretta, with the factory stock for 3 years. 3 years. You know what I mean? And I love my custom stock for Mr. Rich. But I mean, that just shows you, what affordable $1,700 gun can offer.
I feel like
it's
the
pretty
amazing. Needs to be.
My 390s and
When are
my
you going back to the
391s
auto?
were all factory.
When are you going
Really?
to stop to the auto?
Really?
Instead
Oh,
of saying, well, when are you going to go up to the over
My-
under?
My only
Go back
So
to
do
the
you
over.
remember what you won with a factory gun? Not the major stuff. Not.
Everything.
like
I mean everything. You won everything with a factory gun.
yes.
Right out of the box, take it out there and shoot.
I will say I've had trigger work along the way. I
Okay,
had some
right.
trigger work, like Rich saying, instead of going like 7-8 pounds trying to pull on that trigger, trying to get down to that 3.5, 3 1/4, which makes a big difference. But other than that, the gun was factory.
I mean, to take a factory box gun and to do a trigger job is not really expensive. That really changes the way it feels.
Quick,
Right.
$150, something,
Right.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Big difference.
But you know what you're talking about with Diane there. There's that old saying, "It's the Indian, it's not the arrow."
That's right.
Exactly.
I mean, the arrow can't be crooked.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
Joe-
interesting. I just want to say, as Desi was saying, the question shouldn't be when you're going up to an over-under. The question should be when you're going from an over-under back to a semi-auto. Because what they've got is a semi-auto, which obviously demonstrated performance, at the highest levels. And, it's interesting, in my business, we've always worked on these semi-autos. My passion, they're fine over-unders, I like stocking, they're really good guns and setting them up for clients. That's fun for me, okay? Not necessarily it's not the best thing for everyone, but it's fun for me. Many of my clients that, have the means to own fine guns, expensive guns, and have been coming to us for Beretta A400s. And so they are. And what it is that, Rich, I've been shooting for a long time, and everything, and I've been shooting my bleep, but I think I want to, give something that's a little softer a try.
Yeah.
And it's across the board. I mean, it's not saying my bleep, it's not a K80 or a DT11 or an F3. It's just the difference between a semi-auto versus a fixed breech gun. Okay, the semi-auto is utilizing so much of what would be felt recoil in the cycling of the gun. And in this type of a system that Beretta's got in the A400, they've really worked it out so that the system is super efficient in terms of utilizing that pressure to cycle the action and not turn it into felt recoil. And as you all that shoot a lot, that recoil is the enemy because it's a cumulative thing. Over a period of time, it's poke, it wears you out. And if you can, anything that you can do to reduce that recoil, is going to make you a more effective shooter.
Absolutely.
And Beretta puts kickoffs now inside in the middle of the stock versus with the blue gun, they were on the end of the stock. So that's another way to reduce recoil.
This would be the example right here.
So talk about that a little bit, Rich, how that works.
Yeah, so what that's doing basically is that when you have kickoff on the which replaces the recoil pad on the butt of the gun, there's some limitation in terms of what you can do for adjusting the length of pull for the shooter. When you've moved the kickoff up towards the center of the gun, now you have a standard wood butt whereby you can shorten the stock, or you can lengthen the stock. One of the other advantages that the A400 presents is that you can do a lot more with stock dimensional changes. Because in all of the earlier Berettas, what you had is we had an action spring tube. So you had a small 19 millimeter tube that would go down the center of the stock, within a couple inches of the butt of the stock, and inside that it had a spring. And so you've got what we call a bolt slide connecting rod on the back of the bolt, and that was what applied the pressure when the gun fired to open the bolt and then close the bolt again. Now you've got the action spring around the magazine tube and is a component of the whole bolt carrier group. So you've got now all you've got to do is have a threaded rod that goes through the stock with a nut and a plate on it, the stock washer plate. Gives you a lot of opportunity to move things around in that stock. You can modify the drop washers and shims if somebody needs, extra cast or more drop or less drop. It's for custom work. It ends up being more flexible. And the kickoff system here, I think that it ends up being an ideal off-the-shelf type of a solution for someone that wants to buy a gun that's got some additional recoil reduction.
And they also come without it.
They come without it as well.
Yeah.
Right.
They
I
come
know,
with it.
Diane, you do a bunch of duck hunting and bird hunting and whatnot, but this new kickoff in the stock as opposed to the back, I'm definitely a fan of. I feel like it's not as springy as the old kickoff. The stock just moves. It moves less when you shoot, but you still do get less recoil. It still does its job, You just don't feel that absorption as much now with the new kickoff as you did with the old kickoff that was on the very back of the gun.
Exactly, like in the A400 Extreme, let's just
Yep.
say, for like duck hunting,
Mhm.
whatever. That's where I notice it the most when you're pounding those
Yeah,
steel rounds out there. Whew.
Right.
You know that's a great benefit to have,
Yeah.
to feel that right in your grip.
Mm-hmm.
And those waterfowl loads are not 1,200 foot per second one ounce
No.
loads.
No, they're not friendly.
You know, those will rattle the fillings loose and you
Right.
Man, I didn't know you hunted.
Oh, I do.
Really?
Love it.
I know she's talking about guns and she said hunting, and I said, what?
Love it. Yes.
Really? Where do you do your hunting at?
Oh, most of my hunting at home in Jersey. Yeah.
Nice.
Deer hunt, duck hunt,
Yeah.
goose hunt. She does it
What?
all.
Rat hunting.
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
It's kind of changing the subject a little
Okay.
bit. But
I'm ready to
They
solve
want
hunting.
us for that too.
So, but I was looking at world feed task rankings the other day. And correct me if I'm wrong, but are you ranked number 1 in the world feed task?
As of now, just kind of how the point system has been tallied up, you know, it's a cumulative over the last couple of years. But as of right now, I think I am. Yes.
Yeah. And you're shooting an A400. That's what impresses me. You take an A400 and rank number 1 in the world in feed task. I mean, that's very impressive for that. You know?
It's a
That
gun
kind of
just
puts
like
rat
the
on
one
it,
everybody
doesn't
else.
it?
I mean, we don't even talk about this anymore.
I think
you
this
know?
is the Indian thing, Rich.
Yeah.
Indian thing. Yeah, the Indian. Yeah.
So, I mean, you want to wrap it up?
You know, and one thing I would like to say, you know, before we wrap it up is that I would like to, I want to compliment the Beretta team shooters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I work with a lot of professional shooters, you know, and we have Team Cole, which are all little kids, you know, that we've got going on that, you know, that we're trying to help these families out and keep these kids going. So we've got a very, very broad spectrum of different kinds of individuals and different, you know, shooters that are shooting. You know, and of course we've got other manufacturers that we work with and other sponsored shooters that, you know, shoot those, you know. So I'm wearing a Beretta hat doing a Beretta thing. You know, but we've got other things going on, you know, and I like to look at our industry as we're really one big family. You know, we're really one big family. And though there's a time when the competition goes, you've got to compete, you know, but what is really cool is that these shooters help each other out, you know. And that's really cool. And I've gotten to know, you know, all the Team Beretta shooters, you know, and the one thing that I see in that is that there is a family type of a unity, you know, and that comes from, you know, sort of the Beretta. Beretta's a family-owned type of corporation, you know, and there's that family orientation. And I just, you know, I have a tremendous admiration, you know, for all of these shooters because they're not only great shooters, but they're really, really good people, you know. And I think that Brian Buzzy and that whole team, you know, have chosen and selected people because, you know, let's face it, 99 out of 100 shooters wants to be on the Beretta team. You know, I mean, you got a lot of people that would like to be there, you know, and that there are a lot of other really, really good shooters out there and good people out there. But you know, this group is, you know, pretty awesome.
Right back at you.
Pretty awesome.
Very well said,
Yeah.
Rich. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that.
You know, I feel very, very
Yeah.
privileged to have been able to get to know all you folks and work with you and, you know, help you with your guns and that, you know, because I go way, way, way back with Beretta, you know. That was Bob Bonaventure and Ugo Busali Beretta gave me my chance at, you know, being an apprentice at Beretta.
Rich, you're our encyclopedia. For sure.
Right, yeah.
You are definitely.
It's starting
I
to
don't know
wane,
that's
I gotta
right.
tell you. It's starting to wane, but you know, we put together again. It's a team. You know what I mean? It's a team. You got a lot of people that, you know, everybody's just like we're willing to share our information and, you know, and work together. And you know, it just
Thank
it
you.
sort of webs out there. You know, for a lot of people get the benefit of kind of what's going on here. So
Yeah, some of the best shooters in the U.S. are on Team Beretta, without a doubt. You know, and a lot of the tournaments, I've talked about this before, that have been won this year, 2022, have been won with a Beretta. Whether it be an auto or over and under, whatever it is. And most of them came from Rich, you know. So, now, Rich, where are your locations? Naples, Florida,
Yep, we've got our shop where we do most of our over-under custom work and stock work is in Naples, Florida. We've got our original location, which is Harpswell, Maine, and that's where most of the Beretta warranty repair service for shop mounts is done. They distribute all the spare parts and wood sets and things like that there. We've got a really nice facility at the National Shooting Complex in San Antonio, Texas, and then at Sarasota Trap Skeet and Clays in Sarasota. We've got the coal closet, which is we've got a lot of demo guns in there because I'm a real proponent of people trying to have the opportunity to demo, before they buy to sort of have a sense of what that feels like. Of course, everybody doesn't have that opportunity, but I always encourage people to do that. And anybody that demos an A400, it sells itself for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really
Agree.
does. When you shoot it, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Anybody wanting one of these can contact you. They want a trigger job, you can do it.
Yeah,
ship
we
it,
can do any of that kind of performance work on that. And again, all the dealers, in the Beretta family, will have A400. So there are lots and lots of resources to be able to have these guns.
Yeah. Does that wrap it up? I think so. I appreciate you guys coming on and spending
Appreciate
some time
you.
here. US
It's
Open.
fun. It's a good time,
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. I mean,
Thank
US Open, it's a big shooting. These shooters here are with us, and I appreciate the Clay Lab. I can't see them right now because there's lights, but I appreciate them
Thanks.
taking their time to do this. And,
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys.
and I guess we'll get back to
Well,
shooting.
and Justin, we can let everybody get back to shooting, but thank you for everything.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the shooters come out here.
Yep.
Diane, Desi, and Rich, really appreciate you. Thank you for having the philosophy that you do, the approach that you do, and just the dedication to the sport that you do. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
We're in the entertainment business, buddy. We all want to be out there having fun.
Yeah,
That's right.
very true.
All right, guys, that's it. Take care.